Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
I'm not a good pretender, I never could live a lie. I said too much and let it get the best of me until it took the rest of me. I thought it was worth the fight, to fight for what's right, to right all the wrongs, to sing in our songs, to know we belong. No one understands. Never again. But I learned more from one enemy than from 1,000 friends. That heaven takes care of the fools and scoundrels in the end. You learn more from one lie and from 1,000 truths.
Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I'm your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio and at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, going to get yourself some official Spaced Out swag, or simply just rock out to some Bumblefoot. And oh, so much more. Welcome to the After Hours. We are here. Another weekend, another week in the books, right? Another week where we've made progress getting towards disclosure. I just, always feel good about going ahead and setting these shows up to be able to further the conversation. And tonight we'll be doing more of that. We will be joined by our guest shortly, Susan Hill. If you remember, we had a great conversation a couple months ago. She's back with some great information to go ahead and deliver tonight. So it should be very interesting. I can't wait to see what's going on with that. Let me go ahead and hop in the chat and welcome everybody in. Just want to make sure I see who has stepped in the building. So according to this here, looks like Race Van comes in with the gold. We got JSCO77 saying, hey, yeah, coming in with the silver. And then Chris716 coming in with that bronze, saying, what's up? What's up, Chris716? Thank you so much for coming on in. We do appreciate you showing up tonight to the After Hours show. Who else do we have here? We got Penny Van. Penny Van saying, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Penny Van. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We do appreciate you showing up to the After Hours. Who else do we have? We got Lars Jansen. Lars Jansen, thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up. Melvin from Mars saying, howdy to all. Howdy, Melvin from Mars. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate you supporting the show tonight. Let's see. We got Jacqueline D saying, good evening, Earthlings. Good evening, Jacqueline D. We do appreciate you showing up to the After Hours. And if you're new, you may be new. Sounds like you might be new. We run this thing 7 days a week. So let me just run down how that works. Monday through Friday, you get Dave Scott right here, Spaced Out Radio, captain of the Woo Train, right? Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific until midnight. Then you hit the weekend. Saturday, you get me right here on the after hours, as you see tonight, 8 p.m. Pacific till 11. And then Sunday, we got Jessica Jones, the Crypto Hunters, coming in at 7 p.m. Pacific, 7 to 8, right? Soon as the show ends, you guys move right on over here to the after hours, and we run it again from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific. Welcome if you are new. Thank you for showing up. We got Miss Mama Catherine Jones saying hello, everyone, saying, hey, Mr. Rob G. Hey, Miss Mama Catherine, right back to you. Miss you guys, man. We had an awesome sit down, an awesome lunch. So totally missed that, and we got to do it again. See, we got Presidential Zaddy in the building saying salute. Salute right back to you, President Zaddy. Thanks for coming on in. We got Lakeside Laura throwing up the peace sign. That's what I mean. That's what we need. Thanks for going ahead and coming in and doing that for us tonight, Lakeside Laura. We got Kurt M in the building. Kurt M saying hi all. Hey, what's up, Kurt M? Appreciate you showing on up. Paranormal Pixie Laura saying hi, everyone. Hey, Paranormal Pixie Laura, thanks for coming in and handling the wrench duties, right? Keeps the trolls under control. We appreciate that. Aloha Dave 13 saying saludos a todo de Mexico, which I hope everyone knows by now is greetings to everyone from Mexico. Aloha Dave is keeping us bilingual, and we appreciate you for that. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see, who do we got here? We got Stargazer stepping in the building with the sad emoji, the prayer emoji, and the alien emoji. Is that ominous? What's going on, Stargazer? Trying to read between the lines. Appreciate you coming on in. Susan Kano saying hi, Mr. Rob G. Susan Hill and everyone from Northern California. Shout out Northern California. I am from Sacramento, as most of you guys know, so Northern California is what I represent, even though I live in Southern California now. Paul DeMond has stepped on in saying hi, Rob. Hi, all. Hey, Paul DeMond. Thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up. Let's see. We are moving down the list. Yeah, definitely. That is Carl Bittner. Carl Bittner has stepped in the building saying hi, Rob, and all you spacey after hours spaced out peeps. Hey, Carl Bittner, better known as Human Carl. Thanks so much for coming on in tonight. We do have welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Major Lee saying greetings. Greetings right back to you. We do appreciate you coming on in tonight. And yeah, it looks like we're pretty much caught up here. So no, we're not actually. We got Heidi Pop coming in at the buzzer with the, what is that, a synergy? I'll call that a synergy emoji. I can't really tell. And the cool glasses emoji. So we do appreciate you coming on in, Heidi Pop, at the buzzer. Look, Chronicles of the Still Waters. You guys doing that on purpose. Good evening, folks. Good evening. Right back to you, Chronicles of the Still Waters. We do appreciate you coming in. Now, that's the last one. All right. So what we're going to do is go ahead and do as we do every week, right? It's been a full week now since we've been back from the fan party in Reno. And we had a full, great week of content here at Spaced Out Radio. So you know what we're going to do, as we always do, we're going to go ahead and hop up in the Spaced Out Radio time machine and go back and check out the week that was Spaced Out Radio right here. You guys don't go anywhere. We will be back with the show right after the weekly review. And here we go.
This is a subject, Tim, that really, really intrigues me because I've had skipping time. I've never had missing time. Skipping time I've had. I've never had missing time like alien abductees claim to have. Never walked into another portal or dimension and just vanished and came back. But it's something that I've seen and heard enough stories to know there's something to this. What dragged you down the time travel path?
Well, it actually happened a number of years ago, when I first started working for the late great Timothy Green Beckley. He had a publishing company which I worked for with Tim for a number of years. I mean, just right up until he passed away a couple of years ago. And but early on, he had an author who wrote under a pseudonym by the name of Commander X. And I'm sure you've heard of Commander X, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Commander X. Uh, 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 Commander X was under contract with Tim to write several books. One of them having to do with time travel. Well, unfortunately, during that period, this guy had some kind of health issues. I think it was heart related. He wasn't a young man, and this would have been back in the 1990s. At that point, like I said, he wasn't a young man. So Tim asked me if I would be willing to take on a couple of these books and help finish them up. One of them being a book about time travel. Now, at that point, Commander X had written and had gathered a little bit of information that was going to go into the book, and he was concentrating more along the um, like psychic and magical type of scenarios of time travel. Like some of the old grimoires and stuff that would have spell castings for time travel, as well as meditations and astral projection types of attempts at time travel. But naturally enough, I mean, I wanted to look into some of the more, I suppose, traditional time travels. Whether or not people have actually made machines that could time travel. Some of the pop culture, and then some. Then I discovered also the whole time slip phenomena.
What the hell are we doing here, man? What brings us to this planet? Do we got some aliens in us? Are we supposed to be here? Are we a miracle? Or what do you figure humanity is all about?
We're here because we chose to be here. I explain a lot of this in my book, Our Eternal Existence. But we choose to come. This wasn't an accident. We agreed to this. Now, on our bad days, we might wonder what the heck we were thinking about. But we chose to be here, and we come here because we know it's going to be difficult. But it's for our own good. We're learning things, and we're evolving all the time. Every experience that we have is something that adds to our evolution. And so we're gaining a large amount of wisdom when we have even a very normal life. You don't have to have these exceptional lives. Everybody has a purpose here. It's their own personal purpose. We have general purposes. Humanity, if you will, has general purposes, but we all have very specific purposes that we come here for. And we go through one experience after the other, trying to learn what that experience is all about. And we see things from different angles. And one life will come down, and we come down life after life, and we come down here to see the world from a certain perspective, to see our experiences from a certain perspective. And then when we leave, it's like a business trip. We come down here for a certain purpose, and then we have the experience, and we get surprises that we didn't expect, and then we go back, and when we die, it's like going back and trying to understand what we learned and understand our experiences, and then we put a plan together to go have another business trip.
You've been researching this for a number of years now. Tell us about your close encounters.
Ooh, yeah, I've had besides the one as a kid seeing it, but that was from a distance, which was not as powerful as when you finally start to like get close to them. So we had this young man in Turner, Maine, okay, and he put a video out on the web, and Turner, Maine video, and instantly got picked on in school. Parents had to pull him out of school for a little bit, and so we showed up to stand in solidarity with him and to check this video out because it was really unique. It it showed a Sasquatch behaving in a manner that was just you hadn't seen it before. It was like moving through the woods as if it was sad or moaning, or it brought up the conversation, are there Bigfoot that have special needs? Like it was a really interesting video. I don't know if you've seen it, but check it out. So we showed up there to investigate. And so the team goes out, and we were hearing knocks, we were hearing movement. There was definitely something out there, you know, they could never get close. These are those kind of thick Maine woods. So the night we were there was arguably one of the darkest nights like to ever be trying to move around the woods. And the clouds had basically dropped out of the sky and were in the forest. It had rained heavily, so there was, on the old logging road that went out, you know, there were pockets of like 2 feet of water. Anyway, just miserable time, but it's TV schedule, so you got to be there. So my theory was they go out, they're like this beautiful, funny, stinky lure that goes out and then draws them back because they were going to escort you out of the territory. And when they come back, that's when I go out. So I went out in the woods, and I'm standing on this logging road, and you know, you'd mentioned earlier, like, you don't bring camera, you're not there to capture them. You're there to have an experience. And so I wanted a genuine experience. So I took all my gear off and I showed it to the woods. I showed him my headset. I showed him my phone. I showed him everything. And then I put it down. And then I got down into a submissive position that great apes, if you get down and you put your hand out, and then the male, when they forgive you, that runs their hand across your hand, and then, you know, you're good, so to speak.
I want to ask you, how often do you try and get into the field?
At least once or twice a week, at least. During the summer, I'll go in 5, 6, 7 days in a row. You know, I spend as much time out there as possible. But in reality it depends on whether it's paranormal or cryptid, because the paranormal stuff, you know, you and I both know how long that can take. When you're looking in the cryptid area, it's real easy to go out and kind of look at the evidence and see if there's any signs or you know, markings or tree glyphs or footprints or anything like that. But when you're doing the paranormal stuff, sometimes you have to, you know, wait for the right time and the right moment, and then it's worth it. But it's time consuming, Dave. You know, it just takes time. So I mean, it can be as much as I can spend researching and investigating is what I do. That's all I can say, because it kind of goes year round with me. Like, I don't stop because there's winter. That's usually we'll pick up and do more research, or we'll start doing more paranormal. And then when it's time like this time of year, we'll start doing more and more cryptid research. It's lined up for this weekend already. In fact, I'm supposed to do something with PBS on Saturday. They want to see what like an investigation looks like. So I'm going to be taking them to a little spot I go to, but it's not going to be, you know, that big of a deal, because I don't want to scare anyone. So it just depends on what particular time of year it is and what we're looking at specifically at that time of year.
The Canadian report from Dr. Mona Niemer, and I talked to one of the government aides just the other day. In fact, I forgot to call him back. Damn it. But I did talk to him, and we were talking about the report. It is due out in late summer, early fall, pardon me. And it is something that will have a scientific approach. From what I'm hearing, Dr. Mona Niemer has been having a little bit of trouble getting some information from some of the Canadian alphabet agencies that don't want to play fair. They're blocking her way on trying to get some of the hard data that they have. But she's a tough lady, and she's not taking no for an answer. The key here, though, Grant, that I'm noticing is there's 3 major parties in Canada, for people who don't know. You have the Conservative Party of Canada, you have the New Democratic Party, and you have the residing Liberal Party run by Justin Trudeau. And the NDP and the Conservatives seem to be really bipartisan on bringing this topic out. However, we know Trudeau has been briefed at minimum 3 times about this subject. We know that his former ambassador to the U.S. was chatted to about this subject in 2019. We know the defense ministers have been read in on it, you know, and the Liberal Party, though, is not talking about it. You know, they've been kicked out of the Five Eyes in certain conversations regarding defense, especially with Australia and New Zealand. So I'm not really sure how this is going to gain steam, because no other party in Canada outside the Liberals actually has access to top secret information. And the Liberal Party is not speaking about this.
Well, let me tell you a story about that, because when I did the Carmen thing, Jack Murda was the member of parliament for the Carmen area, and he knew all the people who'd had sightings. So he was helping me, and actually the aide, McGuire's aide, went and talked to him. He's still alive. And he was helping me big time. And as soon as he got into power, it all stopped. It's like, depends whose ox is getting gored. If you're going to speak, like Wilbur Smith said that, no minister is going to speak and go public on a subject that he doesn't have the answers to.
Break. We were talking about Carl Nell's talk at the SALT conference in New York, and he was getting into both Paul Hellyer and Israeli defense official Chaim Eshed, and the words that they were saying about non-human intelligence already walking around this earth. It's kind of interesting. Don't you think that he would bring those two names up?
Yeah, well, that's what I was mentioning before you brought the names up, is he was talking about the different countries that work with the U.S. on this issue. And he mentioned, you know, the Israeli. The interesting thing about him is that he came out and he made these huge statements and supposedly even wrote a book, and then we never heard anything about him. So I think it's interesting that he's coming up again, especially with Paul Hellyer, because Paul Hellyer has also made some pretty amazing statements in the past. So by him validating them and validating those statements from the other governments, it's pretty bold. It's pretty amazing. He's really stepping out. I also heard that he just destroyed SETI in his talk, and, you know, totally put SETI down, and that a lot of people would be happy about that. So he said a lot of things. You know, I think he was mostly a repeat of the Soul Foundation's talk that he did about controlled disclosure and having the government do a controlled narrative, and that he's still in support of that. So yeah, I think that he did a lot. I think that he repeated what he had already said, and I think he went out on a limb a little bit more.
I didn't hear that part where he took a shot at SETI, but I think that is really awesome. I really do think that is awesome, because, you know, I've been very critical about SETI as well. Not that my voice is very powerful, but I've expressed the concerns. I've expressed my concerns with NASA, which actually runs SETI, and the fact that here they are supposed to be staring up at the stars looking for all these life forms, and yet they're blocking everything that seems to come through NASA and all the information that NASA has. And, you know, to hear somebody of Carl Nell's stature come out and say that, to me, that just puts a smile on my face, knowing that, you know, hey, there are people on the inside, way more on the inside than I'll ever be, who are actually agreeing that it's all BS, it's all garbage.
Well, somebody brought something up today in one of the groups that I thought was interesting about SETI, and in addition, the NASA report, and he was asking about the NASA report and all the information and the technical information that led to the NASA report, and was any of that released? And he was also asking if it was released alongside the NASA report and its conclusions, do we think that the American public would get to the same as NASA, the same conclusions? And so I posted the NASA report, you know, in the group for people who hadn't seen it yet or read it. And I'm curious about the same thing. I think it's an excellent question to pose, but I don't know that we'll ever get the technical data that went into the NASA report. But maybe Nell saw it. You know, maybe he was one of the people that was able to see that, and maybe that's why he made the comments he did about SETI. I don't know. I don't know what led him to making his comments about SETI, but for me, I'm ambivalent about SETI. I don't believe one way or another about it, but I know there are people in the field that feel like they don't do much. So he was speaking to that maybe for those people in his community.
All right, guys, as we jump back into the future, and yeah, wonderful week right here at Spaced Out Radio. As you've seen, if you missed any of those shows, make sure you go ahead and jump in our archive. That'd be youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and catch one of these great episodes. I know you can't catch them all. You can't be here every day to catch them all live. So make sure you're on Team Replay, or you just jump back in the time machine like we just did, and check out anything that you may have missed. So don't miss anything tonight, because tonight is going to be an awesome show. We're going to go ahead and get into some real deep stuff. As you see on the title of the thumbnail, this probably is going to be a deep conversation, and we got a lot of those coming up in the next few weeks. So this is going to kick that off. And, these are those very important conversations and perspectives. And we're going to go ahead and bring in our guest of the hour, hour one and hour two. You actually saw her here. We had a deep conversation initially, and we're going to go ahead and bring her back in here. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and reintroduce you to our guest for tonight. She is, according to Facebook, an artist, author, explorer of all things mythical and spiritual by night, getting into spiritual consulting and an intuitive medium. She is. Let's go ahead and bring in Susan Hill. Hi, how are you, Susan?
Hey, how are you? I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can hear you very well. Chat, you guys always keep me up on the audio. You'll let me know if anything's okay. I hear everything great. So we're going to jump into it. We had an awesome conversation the first time, and I think we covered some ground. We talked behind the scenes about some other important things that could be covered, and we're going to cover those things tonight. For those, though, who may not know Susan, I know you jumped into this on the first interview, but explain, if you could, to the audience what a spiritual consultant is, an intuitive medium, if you could.
Yeah, sure. So a spiritual consultant, for what I do, I am real passionate about finding those new people, or them finding me, and then helping them kind of plug in missing pieces of their belief system, basically, is what I'm really passionate about. Because, as you know, we've all been taught we've all been taught things that, especially in the religious line of things, we've been taught very traditional, very indoctrinated. And I'm in Georgia, so we're real, that's like the Bible Belt, and it is lovely for what it is, but we aren't. There's so much there. And about 4 years ago, I started diving into the lost teachings of Christ and all that missing history that was not brought to us, that was hidden from us, stolen from us, kept away from us. And that's how I feel about it. It might be a little harsh, but that's how I feel about it after finding out what I've learned, So I gently guide people. I don't tell them, what is right, what is wrong, or whatever. I don't think there is a right or wrong, but there's just a storyline, or many storylines, that we are not aware of. Many of us are not aware of, but we're becoming aware. We're becoming aware of that. So I love, helping people find ways that they can find this information and, I guess, digest it in a way that they can understand and that they're comfortable with, and grow on that, not only with religions, but just history in general, going back to Sumerian timeline. I love all of that history. Love it. So, and there's so much that's missing.
And that's awesome, because, when we're talking about the phenomena and this show in particular, we cover so many things. We cover the aliens. We cover the cryptids, and I think
Yeah.
one of the most important parts of this is the whole consciousness energy side of this. So
Right. Right.
you're actually kicking off. There's going to be the next few weeks. We're going to be specifically focused on this part of the phenomena. So
Oh, great.
yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
be awesome. And I think it's
Good.
very important though that these conversations
Yeah.
get had.
That's
Now I wanted to because I know we're going to touch into the Christ consciousness, which we showed on the thumbnail. I know that's going to be
yeah.
pretty heavy, so we'll say that for hour 2. I did want to
Okay.
start off with something that I was reading here that you said, and it was about being energetically and spiritually clean. What
Yes.
do you mean by that?
Well, that's a big deep dive right there. But we all right now, we're all as a collective, we are ascending with the planet. And most of us know that, you know, whatever that understanding is for us individually, we know something on that level. We know something's happening. There's so much going on in the world. What is happening is we are moving up in frequency and vibration. Everybody, every living being on the planet, even the nature, plants, animals, everything is moving up, and the planet herself is raising in vibration and frequency. And so in that process, this is basically a battle of, dark and light, if you want to call it that, or however you want to term that phrase. It is a battle. And so as we go up in frequency, and some of us are aware of it, some of us aren't, but it's happening to all of us. There are going to be times when, you might attract, or another, like a lower vibration will find you, see you, or something, and attach itself to your energy field.
Yes.
So, and most of us don't realize it. And it probably happens to us all the time throughout our lives, whatever, and we don't even realize it. And these can be, let me turn my phone off. These can be a sentient energy, or it can just be like what I said in my thing to you was like a parasite, what we would consider like a parasitical energy that just is like what I would compare to like a one cell organism here on the planet, where it's not really sentient. It just is, it exists.
Mm-hmm.
So there are energies like that. And those are formed from, things that we do as humans, our thought process, different happenings. If there was something that happened in a certain area that was kind of negative or lower vibration or something, that energy stays, or it can stay. So, and we create our own lower vibrations too. If we have a bad day at work or whatever, I mean, we create that vibration. And so, that those energies have to go somewhere, and they're going to attach to something, and they're usually attracted to the opposite. So if they see your light, as we're rising in vibration, our light shines brighter, our vibration is higher, and they're attracted to that, and they will just attach onto your energy field and just suck you dry.
It suck you dry. Energy
Yes.
vampires, right? So
yes.
I was going to ask you, I'm glad that's where you took it, because I was going to ask you that. I've heard you say, talk about the opposite energies attracting each other. And I always, I'm a big energy person. So I tell people, like, your energy isn't, and I don't necessarily say low frequency, but I compute it as you have an aura or an energy that's affecting other energies, right? And it seems like those negative ones do seek out the positive or higher frequencies, right? It's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Now, where would you say? So we know we don't know, but we assume that this energy, this universe is built off of these energies. Where does a low frequency energy originate? Like, what powers a low frequency energy?
Well, just like, for example, if you get in a fight with your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend, or friend, or whoever, that, for example, that frequency of anger or frustration or some emotionally driven thing like that is not in a positive light, that can create a negative energy or negative vibration. It has to go somewhere. Your words, for example, carry a frequency. The words that you use, how you use them, everything has a vibration and frequency. So be very mindful about what you say and how you say it, because that does have a frequency behind it. And just that, for example, can create a lower vibration, a lower frequency.
So let me ask you this, because okay, so in an instance where they're created, because the way, and I may be wrong on this, but the way I have viewed it is potentially, is there like a low frequency energy that comes that just passes through, you know what I mean, and kind of affects a situation and then moves on? Or is it?
Yeah, I think it can.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So because when you say it originates, like, so does this person create that negative energy themselves, or how?
I mean, we can. That is possible. So, I mean, it's both. I mean, you can create your own negative frequency by having a bad week or whatever, and just being in that lower emotional state. Or, your neighbor can, or your friend at work can, or, they can do that. But there's also situations that create a lower frequency, like war, for example. Now that does include a lot of people, but situations like that. So I mean, you can do it individually, you can do it yourself, you can create these, or in a situation like war or something like that would create a lot of low vibrations. So and we as humans are able to transmute that. We are divine beings. We're beings of light. And, a lot of people don't know that, but we are. And we can transmute that. But we're so bombarded all the time. And there's so much noise in our world and so much going on that it's very hard to focus on that a lot of times. There's so much going on in our day-to-day life that we kind of become numb to a lot of things around us. So we don't really notice, but it's still there. And that is those times is when a lot of times you can have one attached to you. And that's what I call the energy, the parasites. They're just like little, I don't know how big they are, but
it's a great word.
Yeah, it's a parasite. I mean, it's not really sentient. That there are sentient energies and beings out there. But these other energies that are just floating around from different situations or an argument or something like that, they can, just latch on to you, and you can tell. I actually experienced 2 of those recently, like in the last year. And I had I was in Sedona, Arizona, and I had a Reiki session from a shaman Reiki master. She was awesome. And I knew that I was feeling different. I knew that I was not able to connect into, say if I was meditating or something like that. I couldn't get there. I couldn't get to the place I wanted to be in meditation, for example. And I didn't know what was wrong. And so when I went to, for that session with her, she was, of course, doing, the Reiki and the shamanic music with me. And when she got up to my crown, she was doing, the Reiki on me. And she said she saw and felt, like saw in her mind's eye, this darker energy just shoot out of my crown. And it is attached. It has like a cord to it. So she did cut that cord, and I felt completely different after that. Like on the way home, back home, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so different. I felt much lighter, but I knew there was something that was not right. And then that was back in the fall. And so I was good for quite some time. And then after, say, the first of the year, like February, March, there was something else. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just not 100%, and like my moods were up and down. I was tired. I couldn't focus as well. I couldn't jump into some of my writing that I typically do. Real distracted, and also like emotionally, I was kind of down, which is not typical for me. So I was kind of, not depressed, but just kind of moping around and didn't have a lot of energy, wasn't real excited about things. And so I went to another friend of mine who is a Reiki master, and we spent 4 hours together, and she really dug into that. And we did, determine, and she felt this energy from me. She's very sensitive. And it was another darker energy that had attached to me, but this was different. And I felt that difference. This was a sentient being. And she also said that she felt that it was sentient. So we were kind of matching in our, description of this energy that we were feeling, and also very ancient. And what I saw in my mind's eye was back like ancient Egypt, Samaria, that timeline, I think. But a huge, very strong energy, and it felt male. And what she felt, she did like a mini reading, like a little meditation, did a mini reading, and she said that it felt like this being knew me from somewhere. And I did feel that, like I resonated with that. So I feel like this energy, this being, I knew from another cycle, and it found me again at some point and kind of latched on. And I feel this was just a few days ago. So I feel totally different, the last few days. And we did like a cord cutting ceremony, and she cut that cord, and we did a meditation and a prayer, and it was good. It was good after that. But I could feel that lift off. I could feel it change over. I felt that energy shift once that was cut.
Let me ask you this. So on a lower level, because people within this field would know the term Reiki and kind of understand what that is.
Right.
But then, so for the broader public, so what would be some of just okay, let me say this first, because I'm one of those people that says the energy, you want to put out positive energy into the world, and kind of that's the energy that you'll end up getting back. So I'm under that belief, and I feel like each one of us, so essentially, like, we're talking here, we're gonna have a great time. So our energies are gonna vibe with each other, right? Positive energies. Now, within myself, say you come around and you're a negative Nancy, right? You're bringing that low frequency energy, and instead of me receiving that and then passing that on to someone else, just allowing that energy to bring me down, what would be some of like the basic things that a person could do? Because I think if you if I can stop that bad energy right here, I don't have to pass it on to someone else, right?
Right.
But what would be those basic things you could do to kind of make that energy stop here, right?
Right. Well, like I said earlier, we're divine beings. Like, we're light beings. We're divine beings. So we can transmute that. It's just a matter of recognizing it. And with all the noise in our world, it's hard to do that sometimes. So to get, to practice knowing what that feels like, it is very important to us for us to practice whatever our spiritual, routines are. For me, it's meditation, it's prayer, it's eating healthy, exercise, staying in tune with your higher power, that kind of thing. And making a point to do that, acknowledging that, that keeps yourself healthy spiritually. Whatever it is that you do, that keeps you spiritually fit. And that would help you notice and understand and feel that energy when it comes around. And then you can automatically try to turn that around and transmute it. And oftentimes we'll do it without knowing. It's just part of our nature. It's part of our soul's nature to do that. But when you're open up more to that, then you definitely can tell when something like that is around, and then you can do whatever it is that you do. If you say a prayer or shield yourself so it doesn't attach to you. You can do different things to protect yourself and the people around you. Like it's second nature. It's not anything huge or big deal or takes a lot of time, but yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that, but it's just a matter of recognizing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And staying spiritually fit is so important. And it's so difficult some days in our world because we're so busy and there's so much going on and there's things to do and, you know, family and kids or whatever. I mean, we're just busy beings, and it's, you know, difficult some days to keep that in mind and, you know, take care of yourself spiritually. So, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Because just like you said, I think that's very important. Being able to identify, right? Because if you can't identify it, you
Right.
won't know how to handle it. So it's pretty evident, right, that how this energy can multiply itself through people, through channels, and kind of globally kind of change the
Yeah.
energy of the world, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty if you understand that, then you understand how powerful that is, and that's
It
within
is.
you,
Yeah.
right? So how do you turn this energy into, so you have, you know, you are able to identify it, you kind of know how to handle it. How do you turn that positive energy into like a healing energy?
Well, the healing energy is always straight from the creator. You know, it's the universal energy of love. That is
It's
the
through
highest
you.
frequency. Yes, it moves through. You're the conduit for that.
Mm-hmm.
So always to focus on that, to know that, you know, and that we do have the ability to channel that and to channel it into others. And just know that we're not the healer. The healer is God, the creator, source, the universe. And if you ask, you can channel that energy through you, you know, into others.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, but it's the fact of, you know, recognizing it and being able to transmute that. And you don't have to do Reiki. That's not necessary. You can use other methods of that. Just, you know, connecting to your higher power and saying a prayer and using kind, you know, loving words to transmute the not so kind and loving words, you know. So I mean, there's ways to change that around and to make it positive. But you see that in the world. I mean, it's like in different countries where there's so much negativity going on. A lot of the people that's how they are. They're just negative and mopey and down and depressed or whatever. So it's you can see it in groups of people. You kind of know what the energy field is like.
Yeah.
So, and you know, and by us, I guess, ascending into a higher vibration, we're doing that inadvertently. You know, many people are waking up and they're following their hearts and their highest joy, and, you know, finding this spiritual path. So it's raising the vibration of everyone around.
Yes, awesome concept, and I think it's pretty understandable for people out there. Like I was saying before, just having that power to change the world is almost what it is. If you could make the positive energy infectious. The one thing you did say about the being the conduit for the healing energy, I actually really align with that, because, and I've told this story before. I won't tell the whole story, but I just had a puppy who was brought to me as deceased. My daughter brought it to me. Been fighting parvo for a few days, and really small dog, like this big, and brought it to me one morning. Was like, she passed away. Had it wrapped up in the towel. I go and I'm just like, oh, sorry, I'd already buried another dog, so I'm just like, oh, and I go and I just get the dog, and I'm about to go in the backyard, dig a hole, bury the dog. It would take 15 minutes. I swear, the moment I touched this dog, it kicked. It kind of kicked, right? And then over a 4-hour period from that moment, I nursed it. I kind of just held it, spoke to it, rubbed it, and it literally after the 4th hour was essentially aware, awake, and pretty much back.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It is really, and so when you said that, being that conduit, it made me remember that. and
Yeah.
how powerful that was, because I didn't understand. I would never take credit for being the one that brought that dog back. I know I was being used
Mhm,
as a
mhm.
conduit, and it was passing through me, whatever it was. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And that's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
It is.
So
It's amazing. It's amazing. When you can look at the world in terms of, like Nikola Tesla said, in terms of frequency and vibration, your whole world changes.
yeah.
You know, you really have a bigger, broader understanding of how things work. Even humans, you know, how we work, how we operate. So yeah, if you can wrap your head around that, and it took me a little while because I was not that person. I wasn't in that place. So, and that, for example, you know, when you ask me about helping people spiritually, just those kinds of concepts to help them understand that we are much more than what you see in the mirror,
Mhm.
or you're much more than a title. We are divine, beautiful light beings, you know.
Yeah.
And for humans, we don't think of ourselves that way. We're kind of in victim mode. We've always been kind of that victim mentality of having, you know, not having the power, or you know, somebody having to come and do it for us. You know, we don't give ourselves enough credit. We throw our power away a lot of times. And I think that's from the trauma of cycles, you know, over and over and over again.
Well, it's society's effect on us, and clouding our understanding of what we are. So we become so
Right,
wrapped up
right.
in this fake society, and
That's
that we allow this fake thing to bring us down and bring our energy down. And you're right. Once you do understand that whole energy side of it, and you kind of apply that to a lot of things in life, and
Mhm.
it allows you to see things differently.
It does.
Um,
It
One
does.
thing I did want to ask you about, and I don't know if you're able, you know, we could probably continue this after the break, but the ultrasonic hearing.
Yes. Isn't that just, I've never heard of that, but I had to go and have a hearing test, just, you know, to make sure that everything was good, I guess. And my hearing is what that's an actual thing. And I didn't know that. I had no idea that ultrasonic hearing was real or was an actual, like, diagnosis or whatever you would call it for an actual thing. But it, so it's people that can hear kind of like a dog, like they can
Mhm.
hear certain sounds that your average human cannot. And that's what I do. Like, so I could hear some high pitched frequency, and that's how I get messages through. Also, by the way, I think I told you that in our last visit.
Mhm.
I get the messages through sounds and tones and frequencies. Um, but I can hear some high pitched frequency that no one else can hear, but I cannot hear somebody 2 rooms over in the same house. I can hear them, but I can't understand what they're saying. So ultrasonic hearing is hearing that's way above the norm or the average human for whatever hertz that is. I don't know the number, but yeah, it's way above that. And I didn't know that I was that way. But what I have found after I had them say that, is that people that are clairaudient a lot of times have ultrasonic hearing. And it's so funny because I didn't know that was actually a thing. I thought it sounded like something from a comic book, you know, or something like that. But it's really a thing. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and tie those two together because I am clairaudient. So,
Right.
you know, yeah, you can hear. And I guess it's just sound, you know, for me to hear somebody on the other side of the veil, so to speak, you would have to have ultrasonic hearing, I guess, to be able to hear all of those high pitched frequencies. And when the ETs come through, they sound, you know, in a tonal way. It's not like you and I talking. It's tones and frequencies. So
Right. And like I was talking before about society and the effect it has on us, society also has us under the belief that we only have 5 senses, right?
right.
When we know there probably are a lot more. Like when I think of The Sixth Sense, the movie,
Right.
and you
Yeah.
know, especially thinking of it now, because when it came out, it didn't really. It was a title of a movie. It really didn't have
Yeah.
any weight as far as the meaning, essentially. But now that
Mm-hmm.
we're in this whole thing, The sixth sense makes sense because it's probably a seventh, eighth, ninth. And then the senses that we have, the ones that we are aware of, the five, hearing, for instance, ultrasonic, right? You would think that, you have individuals that have disabilities that may have lost their sight or their hearing, and usually it intensifies other senses, right?
That's right. Yeah, it does.
And I had a friend whose little brother, he was a real famous, he was on Oprah, and he would, you may have seen him, he would do echolocating. He would ride a bike. He was blind.
I'd like to see that.
And he was blind, and he would be able to ride his bike down the street without hitting anything.
That's
and use
awesome.
clicking sounds. Yeah, so that's a whole nother thing that I think we don't really get yet. We don't know how far those things can go. So the ultrasonic hearing thing just is very intriguing.
It is. It's very super interesting. I had no idea that was any such a thing. So
So and then vision as well. I mean, you have to think, not just hearing, just look at the other senses. Smell, ultra some smell, right? Just a heightened ability to be able to detect, like dogs or other things like that. So those examples are there. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, especially that can go deep, when we get into that. So we got about, 3 minutes here, and I know we're going to get in. So actually, I just want to let everybody know, don't go anywhere, because we are going to be getting into breakaway civilizations. We're going to be getting into the Christ consciousness. So it's going to be another deep hour of conversation here. So did you have a quick thing you wanted to say before we go to break?
No, I'm just excited to dive into the Christ consciousness, and the breakaway civilizations are relatively new for me, but this is something that has been coming through in transmissions. So it's pretty interesting. And I don't know anything about those.
Yeah, no, it was great that was something that we could cover, because I have some theories about that, and I'm sure people in the audience do as well. So let's see. I guess, we got 2 minutes here. So I'm just going to go ahead and take an early break, guys. So let's do this. We're going to go ahead and pause for the cause momentarily as we get ready to come back with hour number 2 of After Hours. So you guys do not go anywhere.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
right, guys, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, as we are joined back with our guest, Susan Hill. Susan, I did have a question that came in. I just want to go ahead and do that. Kim Jellin was asking, whistles or tinnitus, how do you know if you're clairaudient?
Well, the only thing that I can share is my personal experience, and you might resonate with some of this. A lot of times you might be like right before you fall asleep, you're kind of in that, sorry, I'm eating a mint. You're kind of in that meditative state, and you might hear your name, for example. I know there's people out there that have had that experience. Have you ever experienced that, Rob?
Well, I've heard my name. No, I haven't.
Well, I still do sometimes hear my name, like right before I fall asleep. I'll hear like male, female, doesn't matter, different voices come through and say my name, and it'll wake me up. So that is something that I experience personally. I know other people do. You might be, standing at the sink washing dishes. It's usually what I have experienced, and then what I've learned from others is when you're kind of in, like, driving down the road and your mind is kind of blank. You're just kind of in that state of, how you're driving down the road and you're just kind of listening to your music or staring off and at where you're going and not really paying much attention to life. You're just kind of, in that zone. You might get a message through or hear a word or two or something like that. Now, tinnitus, I know, is a constant thing. This is not a constant thing. What I get is during meditation, or like I said, right before you fall asleep, or if you quiet your mind, if you can quiet yourself down, you can pick up intuitive messages or actually hear them. So, and I can actually hear them most of the time. But yeah, I mean, it would be, you're just going to know. I mean, you'll know because of the content that's coming through, for one thing. But it's in those times when you can shut the noise off of the world and you can hear, if you're out, even outside, if you're outside just sitting in the grass and just quiet yourself down away from all of the hustle and bustle of the world, you can usually, if you're clairaudient, you can hear something. And the interesting thing is, what I have found too, is that spirit will use like noises in our environment, like the birds or something like that. I have friends that tell me that they can hear, certain words like in the birds chirping, things like that. But what I hear is actual voices. And I know that sounds crazy. I mean, years ago, I would never said this out loud, but it's something that I've always experienced. And when I was a child, I just thought it was normal, and most children are gifted. We come in so open, and then we kind of get it shut down through conditioning and society and all of that, our family, school, whatever. But yeah, I mean, as far as like how you would know the difference, I think you just know. You have that inner knowing. And like I said, it's not like a constant thing. It's not a consistent thing all the time. And I've never had tinnitus. So, I would think that is, from what I hear from people, that's a constant ringing in your ears. This is not. This would be something that happens periodically in different states of awareness, So I guess you would just have to start practicing and see what comes through.
Yeah. When you said that, though, you asked me that, and I sat here as you were talking, and I thought about it. I was like, I heard my name called before. I actually can recall a time, maybe once or twice, where it was either my name or it was just like a hey, or just a something, and then no one was here. So I actually have had that experience before.
Yeah. And I think we're all capable of it. Like I said, it's just a matter of quietening yourself down and stepping out of your head and kind of, just being calm and turning the noise off and really getting in tune with the universe, basically, because they will come through. They will talk to you. Your higher self will talk to you, your higher power.
Yeah.
Guides. Yeah.
It's and that's the thing. I mean, it's it's like I keep saying it's like an onion, and you keep pulling the layers back, and then you come to a realization of this, and now it's like, well, wow, okay, and it just never seems to end. So with that being said, I know we were going to get into breakaway civilization. So if you could talk about your definition of that and what you mean by that.
My personal definition is a breakaway civilization would be humans that live off planet somewhere else. There is, I don't know if you've heard of this civilization. I have not. I don't know the name of it, but I have heard people talk about back, was it World War II when the Germans, they broke off and went, where was it, to Mars or somewhere? Is that, have you heard of that?
Maybe vaguely from something like that.
Yeah. So supposedly there is a breakaway civilization. I think it's on Mars with the Germans from way long time ago. But from what I feel in my experience, my personal experience, I feel like there's others, because a few months ago, I started getting Clairaudience transmissions from another group. And when I get downloads, I can not only hear them, but I can feel who they are. Like, for instance, if you're standing in the kitchen washing dishes, you can feel when somebody walks in the room. You know what that person feels like. Like as if it's your husband or your wife or whoever, you know who that is. It's the same thing. I can feel, when who is what, Syrians, Palladians, the angelics, they all have a different feeling, and I can also hear them. But this group that was coming through, I could hear them pretty clearly. I was getting intuitive, downloads also, but they felt very human. And so that was very odd to me, even though I'm human and I'm around humans all the time. I think innately humans don't have 100% trust in other humans. So it made me feel very uncomfortable. And I think that mistrust comes from the many, many cycles that we've been here on the planet, through different traumatic things in the past, because there were some really horrible things that went on with humans, in our ancient past, even recent past. So I think that kind of is why, maybe I don't, because they felt very human. So I was just like, who is this? You just don't know what's going on. And they kept coming through and kept coming through. I finally gave them the floor, basically, to tell me a little bit about themselves, what I could understand. And see, I still have a little bit of uncomfortable feeling there. So I can't hear everything that they're saying. I get bits and pieces of it, but I get enough, to kind of know maybe who they are, where they are, and that kind of thing. But they were coming through with details of who they were. They're definitely human. So that kind of, that was a little shocking to me. They did indicate that they are off planet and they are in a higher vibration. They're in a higher frequency. And what I understand now is that there are several breakaway civilizations. I don't know how that happened. I didn't get that information, but there are civilizations out there with humanoids. And I think we kind of know that anyway. We're not the only humans out there. There's no way that we can be. But these are humans that came, or their family or somebody originated from this planet, probably in recent timelines. I don't know.
And here's the thing with that. So there's a few ways this can be approached, because here's the way I feel about the breakaway civilizations. I have theorized that when we go back and we look in history, and they talk about it with the Sumerians, I guess they're the ones supposed to, and then left. And so, but what I think is putting them aside, like ancient Egyptians, the Mayans, things like that. it just feels like for those empires that got to a certain height and then fell, that there's plausibilities or possibilities of what could have happened. Some people theorize, and I've heard recently that maybe they, there was some sort of ET interaction, whether that was to knock down the civilization at the hands of ETs, or a better thought would probably be that they had gotten to a point of ascension where they then decided to join the stars or to go off planet at that time. So, I mean, that makes more sense. And to me, when we talk about breakaway civilizations, it makes more sense for that to be the case than to talk about our future selves going back in time. That's what we're seeing. I don't really buy that. I think it'd be a civilization from somewhere else, or a branch of us that left the planet thousands of years ago and they're now coming back.
Yes,
that's a possibility for me.
And I'm glad you said that, though, because that reminded me of the Mayans. The Mayans just disappeared. I mean, there was a group of them that just they were gone. And there's other civilizations and indigenous people all over the world that people came in and found where they lived. There was food still cooking on the fire. There were things left out, like they had just been there, but no one was around. I cannot remember the name of that one. I guess it was a tribe of people, but that was what they found. The fire was still going. The food was still cooking. There was nobody there. They just all disappeared, just up and just vanished on thin air. So, and there's several of stories like that from different times and all around the world where people just disappeared. And that happens still today. People will disappear and we don't know where they are. Can't find them. No trace of them anywhere. And so it's really fascinating. It's fascinating because I do resonate with that, strongly, that, entire civilizations here will just up and disappear.
Oh, yeah. You have to look at the fact that we're about to do that again with our current civilization. We're about to go inhabit Mars, and we will at that point be a breakaway civilization, because if something happens to the rest of us here on Earth, then that civilization out there be the one to carry on. So, I mean, and that's why I say a lot of this phenomenon, a lot of the stuff we're going through, I think are I'll say God-given common sense is will sort out a lot of this, or answer a lot of these questions just using that. Right? You don't have to necessarily be schooled academically in order to answer these questions. You don't have to be a scientist or some astrophysicist to get the questions to the answers to life. I think it's within all of us, the common sense that we have to kind of sift through it and figure it out. So,
well, speaking of common sense, I mean, it just seems like, now nobody wants to tell us this, but it just seems like we would have the technology even a long time ago to leave the planet. And I think that we did. I think we have, but it's just not talked about. It's hidden from us. I think there's a lot more technology and a lot more things going on out there that, is hidden from us. So, but the interesting thing about the groups that I was talking to is they said that they were connected to the space program. They've mentioned that. They've even mentioned the International Space Station, like the one that we know. They've talked about that. It's all one big unit up there. They all know about each other. They're all working together, and they're working together for the good of humanity. And they've even said this to me, and I don't know how I feel about this. They've said that you can come here if you want to. You can come. We can come get you. You can come, whatever. And I'm like, I think I'm good. I don't think I can do that right now. But yeah, I mean, they talk about their life there, and what it sounds like to me is a higher vibrational Earth. I mean, it's very similar. Maybe what I've heard from the guys is that everything outside of this is fifth dimensional. So we're, you know, we're kind of by ourselves here in this 3D, 4D. But everything outside of Earth is fifth dimension anyway. So, but they talk about that higher vibration. They describe their world basically having, you know, everyone is like one unit. The main thing is love for each other. They help each other. There's no wars. There's no starvation. None of the stuff that we see here in our reality. So it sounds like what the end goal is for us, or for me and you and other people that are, you know, understanding of that. It sounds like the world that we eventually, you know, that we're working towards, and they're helping. And from what they've said, there's several, you know, of these civilizations, and some are actually on there. I think what I got, there was 2 that actually lived on ships, huge, like biosphere ships.
Okay.
You know, they have everything right there. They're totally self-sustaining. So they grow their food. They have some sort of, you know, what they showed me. I saw in a lucid dream one time how this biosphere was just like you walking outside into a beautiful national park. I mean, it just looks like, you know, you have the grass, you have the flowers, you have sunlight, all of that right inside the ship. So
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense, because we would have to assume that if these things, whether they're a breakaway civilization or they're from their own planet, they're from a planet which is made of earth or a dirt and rock, and
right.
sure has life on it as well. So those would be the amenities, of course, anyone leaving a planet would want to sustain. So it makes sense for there to be some sort of biosphere or something along those lines. That's just looking at it practically. I think that would be not too far off right there. But
I don't think so. I think it's totally possible.
You know, one thing I thought about, and this is it's pretty wild though. Whenever contact happens, it's happened for some people, but contact globally, I just have a vision of, because with these ETs and ships being depicted in all this ancient art and touching all these ancient civilizations, at one point they all have said it, that maybe, so it just maybe I would hope that if we're able to sit down with them, that they've kept record of the histories of us as humans, and maybe even sit, like, we can show us a film, right? Almost like, hey, this was ancient Egypt, and you get to see it as it was, or something.
Oh, that would be so cool. Yeah,
that would be awesome, right? And you would think they would have the capability to record that data. So I would hope that that'd be something they'd be able to do. But even if it's Breakaway, Breakaway civilization would do the same thing. They'd come back to tell us about, you know, their history here on Earth, and kind of tie it into us. I think it's going to be really awesome once we have that understanding of what all this is, because then we could think about it, right? And we could process that information and kind of formulate some other theories on a higher level. So hopefully we get to see that within our lifetime, but I don't know.
You know, what I find interesting is I feel like, I don't know about the whole civilization, but, you know, there's small pockets of these breakaways that I don't think were back a long time ago. I think it was fairly recent. You know, there's rumors that people that we know, you know, in the public eye, that supposedly died, you know, that aren't really dead. You know, they didn't really die. They just left.
Okay.
And I'm in that camp. I don't know about all of them that is rumored, but some of them I can totally see that. You know, I really do. I think that like JFK Jr., for example, you know, some of the names like that, I would think that that would be totally possible, you know, for them to just leave and not actually be gone. I don't know.
Well, think about this. I mean, we have missing 411, so essentially that's the same thing. People that have rumored to have been taken and not returned, so that's essentially exactly that. So I could see that. I mean, I could see that being possible. with that being said, like I said, we're technically going to be a breakaway civilization. So for people who sitting there like, oh, that sounds ridiculous. No, really think about it. Think about it logically and think about where we are, and that's the first thing what I tell a skeptic. I'm like, when a skeptic says that things can't visit here, wouldn't be visiting here, and I just point out we technically have things that we've sent out that are still traveling through space that are extraterrestrial to other life forms if they were to ever come across it. So if we're doing it, why couldn't it be done the other way? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And I truly believe that we have the capability, of course, but we also have within our human civilization the ability to. I think that we do have like the technology. I just don't think that it's been shared with the general public, but I think there's so much more there that we are even aware of. But these civilizations are really interesting, and I've just kind of started on the journey with this group. So it's still a little bit uncomfortable to me because I was really kind of I guess apprehensive at first because of the humanness about it. It was very strange to me. I was used to connecting with like Syrians, Palladians, or whoever, but not humans. I wasn't really I didn't think about that, so it was a totally different feeling. So we're I'm kind of molding that relationship, I think, and letting it in a little bit more. But it's really interesting. It's super interesting. And from what I understand, they work with, and this is thought provoking too. From what I understand, they work with the other ET races, as one big family. They work together. Everybody works and lives together. And that is truly how I think it used to be here thousands of years ago. And you can see that, like you were talking about the ancient art and the hieroglyphics and all of that. You see evidence of that in the writing or drawing from thousands of years ago. But we don't think it's possible today, or a lot of us do. I don't understand that. I think it's totally fine. And I think that's normal. I think we should.
And see, then here's what I like to do, because when we have these sort of conversations, when we talk and use jargon that make sense within ufology, but may not translate to those outside of ufology.
Yeah.
Then I kind of like, because they tune in and they're like, hearing voices and talking to, but if you simply understand frequency, then it would make a whole lot of sense to you listening to something like that. Now, I did also want to get into another thing I forgot I was going to say a moment ago, but I wanted to get in, because we have about 30 minutes left, to what you mean by Ascension, the Great Awakening, and then New Earth.
Okay, so Ascension is basically, again, us raising our frequency, our vibration, but we're doing it as a whole, as a whole civilization, all of humanity, all the earth, every living thing. We're all going up in frequency. Right now, we're in third and fourth. Some of us are probably in fifth, some of the gurus, across the world. But we're slowly getting there, but we are raising in frequency. And I'm trying to think how to go with this, like the different, well, we'll just get back to church. When I was little, and everybody, when you die, you go to heaven, right? And you always look up. Heaven's out there. It's over there. It's, can't see it, can't touch it. It's out there somewhere. But what I've learned is that, the different dimensions, and heaven is the dimension, it's right here on top of us. It's just a higher frequency. So when people see apparitions or they hear voices, where they are just hearing and able to get in touch with that next dimension, basically. They're able to kind of reach through the veil, or hear through the veil, or see through the veil. And we're going to start seeing, I feel like, and the guides have said this too, a lot more. We're going to start seeing a lot more oddities, if you will, people may start seeing what they might consider a ghost or a spirit or an alien even, or whatever. They might start seeing things outside, the peripheral.
Mhm.
Hear more things, see a ship in the in the sky or something, but they're really just phasing in and out of reality. They're not coming to, they're already there, but you're just able to see them because your vibration is rising, and they can phase in and out of third and fourth dimension, but they're already right on top of us. So all of your loved ones, your pets, everybody is just right there. You're just not in that same vibration. They're in another vibration. So as the ascension basically is that. The ascension is finding your way back to source, back to God, back to creator. And so, yeah, I mean, it's totally different than what most of us thought or were taught, when we were younger. So, yeah.
And I want to say something about that because, getting into that, obviously, and like I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to have some tough conversations. And, unfortunately, religion happens to be one of those tough conversations to have within this whole thing that's going on. But I'll just kind of start out by saying, like, when I was young, and I'm still this person, I'm still a carefree, like open-minded sort of person, open to trying things. And so as a child, as a young adult, I never subscribed to one particular religion. I kind of dipped my toe into a lot of different ones just to experience and see what it was like. But my backing has been Christian. That's with my family. But when you say heaven being a dimension, that just makes a lot of sense, and it kind of ties or marries religious thought into ufology as well, and kind of makes it make sense. So I could see heaven being a dimension, and then when you say that, what it does for me is it takes me back to a time where I had dipped my toe in briefly, but into Jehovah's Witness. I had some friends that were doing that, and they kind of invited me when I went, because I'm open-minded, and they would talk about something called heaven on earth, and I never could wrap my mind around that concept. Like, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But then when we talk about it being a dimension, and then maybe it's something that's right here where we're at, then that kind of just ties those two things together. And I'm not backing any one particular religion. I'm just saying, with my experience going to one of those churches, they did, kind of ties in right there. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, I completely align with that. I think that is something that is worth exploring, because what I've learned, I grew up I was Methodist growing up, so I went to church every Sunday, and that was the understanding that I had. But what I've learned on the spiritual path, and not from books or something I read online, this came from meditation. So they would feed me certain things. They would give me certain words, certain phrases, certain concepts, and then I'd go and research it. So it's very interesting. But what I've learned from them is, that everything is right here. Like, the new earth is right on top of us. We just need to vibrate over to it, and that's the thing that can be challenging, in our day-to-day life, especially being here in our world. Like I said earlier, it's very noisy, so you get distracted. You can't, focus on certain things. So that kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier. It's really important to keep yourself spiritually fit. But yeah, I totally align with that. I think that the other, if you want to call it heaven, is right here. From what I understand, what they have told me, there's 13 levels of that. There's 13 dimensions, or densities and dimensions. And after the 6th, there's no more physical, part to it. So, but it's super interesting. Yeah.
And I'd like to take that a little further. with the heaven on earth, because I have looked at it, because being that I've touched all those different religions, I've talked to Reverend Michael Carter about this as well. But I kind of sat back after all those experiences to kind of look at the overall scope and try to wrap my mind around what religion actually is. And for me, at the end of the day, I just understand there's a higher power, whatever created this. Now you can call it God, you can call it whatever you want, but whatever started this thing is what I consider that higher power. And then when I talk about heavens, and I'm saying, okay, is this book I'm reading full of metaphors for other things, and like the ark and things of that nature. So I have felt like, and then now listening to what you say about heaven being a dimension is potentially here, I looked at heaven as everything we see out there, but now I could take what you say here and say maybe heaven is actually goes from here to infinity, right? And just reaches out to the ends of space, to the ends of the universe, right? All that is heaven, even here and on, you know what I mean? So I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know what you think about that.
It does. And I think that we can bring heaven here. And I think that is the goal, if you want to call it ascension or bringing it here, combining the two, having heaven on earth, that is the ultimate goal, to be out of the third and fourth and into the fifth dimension. So, but yes, I feel like it's hard to explain, because it's hard to wrap your head around, to know that there's a veil, number one, and there's many veils going forward, but to have everything right here. But I do feel like that there are places off planet. There's no other planets that have civilizations and other life forms and other people, other humans. And the groups that I was hearing from, I feel like they were elsewhere. They were in a physical form somewhere, off of the planet. But then you also have the different dimensions of Earth, and they're higher dimensions. So that would be like having heaven here on earth. And another term that they use that I've heard is the New Jerusalem. That's another term that's used for the new earth. I don't know if you've heard that one before. I had not heard that until just recently. And there's a story in the Bible, actually, in Revelations, that talks about the New Jerusalem descending from the heavens. So that's pretty interesting. And they describe what it looks like and everything. So I feel like there's both, as far as dimensions and also physical realities, other places, like other locations.
And that makes sense too. And I think what did they say? God created the heavens and everything in it, right? So essentially, just looking at it, kind of spitballing, right? Because that's what we're doing, really. What if, and it's probably the case, because this kind of goes into what we think about as far as like where we came from before we were babies and then born into the world.
Yeah.
So it seems like to me, like if I were gonna take a step back and someone asked my opinion on it, I would say maybe we are energy first. Like that's actually what we exist as energy. So energy beings and things of that nature are just us in our pure form, and then we're able to manifest ourselves as physical beings because you have to be physical to interact with the world, right? So it would seem like that would be a purpose on why our energies decide to be born. And then maybe that I talked about reincarnation, and maybe reincarnation, what that ends up being is something I call like energy redistribution, right? Where as your energy goes back to its original space, and then maybe your energy takes a physical or inhabits a physical being somewhere else in the universe.
Right. And that's
So
totally possible. I'm on that. I'm right there with you on that. And another concept with that is that we are actually still in what we would call the heavens. We are in spirit form in the highest dimensions there are, and then we graduate down into physicality. So that's what people mean when you talk to your higher self. Part of you, most of you actually, is still there. And then there's other parts of you in the different densities and dimensions until you get here, you know.
and it makes sense
So,
because they always ask the question, or the question is always asked, I should say, like, what are we before we're born? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that would make sense for that to be an answer.
right,
Like, we
right.
exist as energy, and that's what we are. We are energy beings, and then we're just briefly in physical form to interact with the planet. So
Absolutely. Yes.
getting into that now, I don't know if kind of what we've talked about ties into the Christ consciousness, but what do you mean when you say Christ consciousness?
It does, because that's part of Ascension too. Is for me, now someone else may call it something different, but I think Christ consciousness is a pretty universal term for becoming, in a state of oneness and unity with each other, in that state of that love vibration all the time. And that's the ultimate goal, is to be that. That is part of the ascension process. And I feel like the man that was here that we call Jesus, I feel like Jesus was here, as well as others, that embodied that Christ consciousness fully. And he was here to teach us how to do that. That is what I've learned on this journey of the teachings, the lost teachings of Christ, which falls into the teachings of the Essenes and Gnostics. It was fascinating. If you've not, looked into that and studied that or dove into that, because it is so fascinating. Completely different than what we learned, in Sunday school or whatever. So, but it is fascinating. But that is the ultimate goal, is to be that, to have that Christ consciousness. And so when that's the universal love of all, basically. But a lot of people, and I was one of them, I didn't understand what Christ was or is, or who. I didn't understand that. I thought, like many people, and this is no joke, I thought that was just part of what he was called. I didn't know what it was, but I've actually met people that say, that think it's a title or like part of his name, a last name. And Christ is actually a verb. It's a state of being. It's a state of being in oneness and unity. So if you can think of the word Christ as a verb instead of a name, like a noun, then it makes a lot more sense. Jesus, the man, embodied the Christ. And so if you read in the ancient texts, like the Bible or other ancient texts, many of the people will refer to the Christ. Are you the Christ? They were waiting for the Christ. So they were waiting for that concept, for somebody to bring that concept that embodied that concept and that state of being. It is a state of being. And a state of oneness. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm just thinking about it, and it almost feels like, so it essentially Christ-like,
Yes.
the energy, the attitude, the persona,
everything.
right? Yeah. So
it's all of it.
So it almost feels like then that ties right back into the energy then, right? It's almost like
it does.
a positive
A big
energy.
circle.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
yeah.
But like I said, when you talk through this stuff, you have to think about what makes the most sense. I mean, and that makes a lot of sense for that to be the case, to look at it like that, because some people I find in within religions take things literal.
Oh,
and,
yes. Absolutely. Yes.
And I think that might be the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it would appear that a lot of the things that said are meant to be metaphors and meant to be looked at a little deeper than just the
Yes.
surface words, right? So
Yes, absolutely. You know, and Jesus, that wasn't even his name actually. His name was Yeshua.
I've heard that, yeah.
But he taught in parables. He taught in metaphors. So you do need to do some digging because there's a lot to learn there and to know. And if you can combine his teachings with the teachings of the Essenes and the Gnostic, then it all ties together. And it was, and a lot of people don't know this, but his mother, Mary, was raised in the Temple of Solomon. And she went there at the age of 3 years old. And she was one of 81 girls that they called the Marys in the Temple of Solomon. So, but I mean, it's just it's fascinating what you can find in the lost teachings, because then it for me personally, it made sense. It tied everything together because I had questions. I mean, a lot of it just did not make sense to me. But that Christ consciousness is what I feel like the man Jesus came here to teach us to do. He already had it. Like he embodied that from birth. And he also traveled around. He was in Egypt. He was in India. He learned from all of the great sages. He learned what we call Reiki. He was learning about energy healing. He was learning about all of that to perfect what he already had. And he knew coming in. So I could get way deep into Jesus, the man who I love very much. I mean, that's who I, connect with the Christ consciousness, but it doesn't have to be him. It can be Buddha. It can be, any of the other ascended masters that embodied that consciousness, that embodied that state of being.
Right.
Trying to come here and teach us how to do that.
And I think that's important to say because some people are like, oh, well, you're focusing on Christ. No, it applies really to all of the people in that position within every religion. And I think religions if you looked at them all, have a lot of the same tone to it, and it's meant to be that is meant to be that the metaphorical book for all nationalities and races around the globe, tribes and things of that nature. I would be interested to know, this conversation, having someone like from a Native American tribe, because I've asked, we have Travis Moosdus, who's actually, he'll be in our hour 3, but I've asked him that question on, like, when you look at some of the metaphors within religion, if they tie into folklore of the Native Americans, and he showed me a couple times where those things do intersect. And so I feel like, truthfully, at the end of the day, that the natives have really like the key to the finality, or the to add to the knowledge that we already have and kind of maybe unlock some things. So
absolutely. I've always said that the Native Americans and other, indigenous tribes, they had it going on. Like they knew the secret. They knew it. They knew what it was without having been told, without being taught. It was passed down through generations. They just had, this innate love and respect for what the Cherokee used to call the grandfather. That's what they call God or source or creator. And there's different words that different tribes use, but I know that for here, the Cherokee called him grandfather. They just had this love for grandfather, but no one had to tell them that. They just knew it, there are stories in our natives too that had star people that came in and taught them things and shared things with them. So yes, the natives they have the answers. I just love their stories. I love their beliefs. And my dad, I was very fortunate because my dad had a lot of respect and love for the Native Americans. And so I was taught some of those things, like love for the earth, to care for the earth, the animals, respect for nature, that heartfelt love for all around you. So they had that Christ consciousness. That's what that is, that love and respect, and for everyone. Yeah.
And it makes me think, And I guess further research can maybe answer these questions, which is why I ask questions like that. But I would wonder if religion. So religion, if you what came first, chicken or the egg? I'm gonna say the natives and their experiences came before the
Oh,
world's
yes.
religions, right? So it's like,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
were the words or were the theories in folklore of the natives, was that plagiarized and then repackaged as religion and shaped in a way to not allow us to understand the full truth? Because if
Yeah.
you look at natives all around the world and how they were treated and kind of put in these side pockets away from the public eye, that you would, it would almost seem like in doing that you're hiding the key to the truth, like you're trying to obfuscate our direct connection to the what probably are the most truthful answers we could get about things that are going on here. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but my mind really gets going down those
Yeah,
rabbit
I
holes.
have actually. Yes. I mean, I've always had a deep respect, like I said, and love for their belief system, and aligned with that. I aligned a lot with the ways that they, were taught and what they believed. But yes, I do. And when you said that, I forgot what exactly you said, but something about, being hidden from us or kept from us, not
Yeah,
wanting us to
to
know the
speak the
truth.
truth.
I
Yeah,
am on that band. Yes, I would totally believe that. And I found that in my own research, that a lot of what we have in all of our religious institutions is a lot of control. Um, I said it, that came from me. That's my opinion.
yeah, no, it's
But yeah,
true.
I mean, it's true. It's, they left a lot of it out. And that's what I was really fascinated with the teachings of the Essenes and the Gnostic teachings, because like I said, that ties a lot of that in. So go dive into that, guys, if you want to find out some juicy stuff. It's really, really interesting. It's real interesting.
And
Yeah.
I feel like, especially within religions, like they you get the way you get treated and looked at by not going full in or head first
Right.
into any particular religion. And it should be okay for a person to stand on their own and then be able to maybe look through this book to see what pertains to them without necessarily having to be involved with a group or organization.
Right. Right.
I think because it's our own path, right, to get to
It
figure
is.
this out, and
Yeah.
that's a tool to do so. But I
Right.
don't know that necessarily we have to congregate essentially in order to make that
Yeah.
connection.
Well, for for the Christians out there who, do recognize Jesus as Christ, he even said that you don't have to have the temples and the buildings and the brick and mortar or whatever. You don't have to do that. You can
Right.
go out in nature and be with Father, is what he said. So, and that's exactly what the natives did. They were in nature all the time, and they had that love and respect for that. And yes, I totally believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you look at society as well, I'm thinking more and more as we sit here and talk, but if you even look at just the way of life, right? If we were to look at and follow what the natives do, then we would essentially be more free than we currently are, trapped into what we're locked into now, which is why things have to change. And if you think about it, how healthy is it if this planet was designed with Mother Nature in mind, and for Mother Nature to control the cycles and things that we should, like, who are we to break away from that, right? It's
Right.
weird
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's our intelligence and our ability to do what we do takes us away from nature. And if you go leave any one of you guys out in the forest right now, dead within 2 days, right?
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
nature part, that natural survival thing, or the thing that connects with us in nature, is missing. And I
Hmm.
think the natives still have that, right?
They
And
do.
and
Yeah.
if we were to follow that, we would, like, that's the path we probably should be going, right?
And I think that's how it started. I think that obviously that's how it was created and started,
Mm,
because the earth itself has everything that we need to survive. And
yes,
so, and
right.
that's been kind of taken from us too. But it's coming back around. I'm really happy about that. All of these teachings and concepts are coming back to us, which I'm super happy about. That really, really excites me, because I think that's the way it should be, with that, understanding of nature, understanding of each other, understanding the concept of God and who that is, creator, source, grandfather, whatever you want to call, but just a unity, love for one another,
Right.
everything. And that is what Christ consciousness is. And, that's what these ascended masters came here to try to teach us. And,
Right.
Either they were shut up or we shut them up. We didn't want to hear it. So, and went on our own way. And now look at us. So, but we're
Right.
getting there. We're getting there.
We're getting there, but
Yeah.
it's very important to point out that when we talk about that ascension and then our finding our place in the overall picture,
Yeah.
like the ETs who are looking at us now, they're like, these guys don't have Christ consciousness right now. Like but I feel like once we, if we were, and that's what ascension does for us, and enlightenment gets us to that point. And I asked Travis this before, how do the elders how do they look at the rest of society and the things that are going on right now as far as us maybe ascending if we can get disclosure. And then he said something along the lines of that's kind of what they're waiting for is us to get to that point, because it feels like if we do we will get to that point, but when we do, that we may kind of reconnect or remarry with the whole our own native history, right? And just the whole synergy of everyone moving as one, you know what I mean?
Right. And I feel like we were talking about disclosure. I think that's already starting to happen with individuals. But as far as like what you have called a catastrophic disclosure, I feel like that is going to happen in the next few years. I really do. I do. I've gotten the years between 2027 and 2032. We're going to see some major stuff going on in the skies and in our world, in our lives. Yeah.
2027. I've heard that before. And the way I look at it is like we could wake up tomorrow and this be the new reality. And it's like there's really nothing stopping it from happening. It's really up to them whenever they want to do it. But if they decide to pull the trigger on that tomorrow, like if they see, I've always thought about, because we're on the brink of World War III and nuclear devastation of the planet and of ourselves and the planet. And I always wonder if maybe they step in to stop that if it were to happen, or if they expedite the disclosure process, the ETs, because they see we're about to just end it anyways, or but obviously
I think they will. I think they do. And I think they have on certain occasions, because there have been reports from the military about ET craft around nuclear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they are watching that because they don't want us to do that to this beautiful planet, and they don't want that to disrupt or harm other civilizations out there, because it could.
Yeah.
And we don't think about those things because, we think that we're the only ones in the universe. So
right, exactly.
We're not. So.
Exactly. And I can't wait. And I recently did a video about like what would the government do in the event of catastrophic disclosure, and it's just scary when you start thinking about that road that we could go down. And I'm just hoping that's why we need catastrophic disclosure, because
I think so.
I think if we ascended first, then maybe that ascension trickles over into the minds of the government officials as well. And maybe it kind of dissolves that whole power thing from the inside. It's just hoping.
It can go so many ways.
Exactly. That's why I love having these conversations, right?
It can go.
And
because what I'm concerned about are the people that aren't where you and I are.
Right.
What would that do? I'm aware that there are other beings. I've talked to them. They're there. I've seen ships. And many of us have. And so what about the people that haven't, and they're still in that traditional way of life? I mean, that would be very scary.
Yeah.
That would be very scary.
It's for surely is going to be scary for those people. And the thing is that it's going to even be scary for us that are within this, because it means that technically the society that we were born into and that governs and controls everything is going to have to break down to be rebuilt. So that process of being back to scratch, we have to be willing to lose the benefit, the things we consider as benefits within society, in order to get back to the base level so we can rebuild back up.
That's right.
It's something we have to do, though.
Yeah, it's very necessary. Yeah, all of this current paradigm needs to break down, and for the new one to build. So, and that's part of the ascension too. That's part of ascending. That's part of that. If we can just think of Christ as a verb and know that we're ascending and just practice that every day, we'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. All goes back to energy. Now, like I said, it's been an awesome conversation. I totally enjoyed our second conversation. I think it was even better than the first. And I look forward to having more conversations as well, because I think it's these ones that really move the needle for what we're doing here.
They do. And they're my favorite. I was passionate about these conversations. So anytime I'll come on. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. I know you're an author, so if you wouldn't mind, you can talk about your book and then where everybody can find you.
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My name. Instagram is Susan_Hill. I'm pretty much on Facebook more. I'm kind of there more because I do a lot of work there. So, but you can find me on Facebook, and my website is theangelbridge.com. You can find me there. And then I do have one journal that's published. I have 2 more that are coming out. And then I'm writing a book with another author, Tom Conwell, who's a ufologist. So we're writing a book together. You can find my journal on Amazon, and it is truly a journal. And then it has messages in there from the guides. And from that journal, it's the Pleiadians. I've put the messages from the Pleiadians within the journal, just to kind of give you some thought-provoking material for you to dive in on your own self and, write your journal. I'm very big on journaling. So, yeah, but you can find it on Amazon. It's called, the journal is called A Journal for Your Ascension Path. And so it's there on Amazon, but it's good. And everybody needs a journal. That's where we got all these. Yeah, I started writing down the messages. That's how I started journaling. So, yeah.
I need to start journaling. Actually, I will jot some things down occasionally. But as we were talking, there were some things, the ideas and thoughts that came up that I know I need to journal.
Here's a copy of it. This is my journal. I have one copy here at the house left. It's called My Journey, and Journal for Your Ascension Path. So that's what it looks like. And it's it's big, but yeah.
Is it something you fill out? Like, do you put your own entries in there? Like, I would put mine.
It is an actual journal.
Okay.
And then in the pages, it has printed the messages from the Pleiadians that I received. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely. So you guys need the journal in your life. I think it's very important because we have the conversations, and you may forget about something that you wanted to point out or something that would resonate. So that's where the journal comes in. Outside of that, Susan, it's been awesome. We're going to do this for sure again. Do appreciate you coming in, and you enjoy the rest of your night. You have a great week as well.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Later. All right, guys. Another awesome conversation. Susan Hill was totally awesome. You guys make sure that you go out and you get the book. We are going to go ahead and pause for the cause and take another break as we get ready to jump into hour number 3 of Space Out Radio After Hours. You guys don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you're
Conversations
back.
That move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
Hey, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And we're going to go ahead and get into a little bit of stuff here. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere. This is going to be awesome after hour number 3 as we wait for our guy to come in, Travis Moostus. What I definitely want to do is make sure that you guys know where you can get some of this Spaced Out Radio swag, spacedoutradio.com/shop. You know why? Because, guys, we do not have ugly swag. So let's go ahead and run that commercial and we'll be right back.
Hey, everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have Spaced Out Radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com. Shop there today and make yourself look good.
Sure, you look good. Tonight has been a great night. Like I said, we have as a fill-in. He'll be in a few minutes, guys. He's having phone issues, but I kind of want to just talk about real quick while we wait, just the necessity and just the importance of understanding energy, right? Because I think if you're listening to the conversation tonight, as I said, you know, it's almost like a superpower that we have to be able to spread positive energy. And if we all did that, you know, it'd be something that could technically sweep across the globe, spread just like anything else, multiply. And I kind of think that's what our duty is as humanity in order to kind of make sure that we go the right way in this, right? So I think that's pretty awesome. Let's see. One thing I did want to get into while we wait is, let's see. Yeah, Travis Moostus will be here in just a moment here. I wanted to go ahead and make sure that I put this out. I don't really ever do self-promotion on this channel, but it's very important especially if you enjoyed the conversation tonight, to know that we actually have these sort of conversations all the time right over at the Social Dig. This show's one of the shows that we had done recently over there, post-disclosure, the government plan. We got pretty deep on that. This is season 2. I have a full season 1, which has about 45 episodes in it. And then we're like at episode 4 of season 2. So the deep, tough conversations are continuing over there. Right now, we're at about 398 subscribers, trying to hit 400. So if you haven't already, consider going over to youtube.com/@MrRobG. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Come along for the awesome conversations that we have over there, late night call-in shows and all the awesome things that we're doing. Plus, I'm about to premiere a new series that I've set up, and I think it'll probably hit pretty good. So we'll see how that works out. A lot of you have already supported, so I want to thank you guys for that. You guys are right here in the chat. A lot of you come over to the Social Dig, and I would like to see more of you there. If we're all trying to get to disclosure, these are the conversations that we're having over there. And I think they definitely move the needle. I know a lot of you can vouch for that. So shameless plug, but I think it's, I'm not over there selling anything. I'm just trying to have the conversations that move the needle, right? And that's what we're doing. So make sure you guys consider going over and showing some love. All right. With that being said, if you heard the doot, as Christine would call it, I call it a boop, then you know we have just been joined by our guy for hour 3. So let me go ahead and get it all set up so he can come on in and we can have some more awesome conversations. So with that being said, let me go ahead and switch our graphic here as we get ready to bring in, as you can see here, the paranormal reporter, none other than our guy, the one connected, still deep rooted within the tribes, our guy, Travis Moostus. Let me go ahead and bring Travis up here on the screen. And here we go, Travis. How you doing, man? How you been?
Hey, I'm doing good. Hopefully I sound good too. It's great to be back. How's it sounding?
It's sounding okay. Are you using the app or the browser right now?
It's the browser, I guess. The link through the to the
Okay.
stream yard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had a couple clicks, but you're doing good now. Okay. So Travis, we're gonna get into some things. I know you sent some things over as well. And I'm actually, let me go ahead and get ready to bring that up. But I don't know if you heard the conversation tonight. We were talking about we got into some Christ consciousness and kind of, our guest Susan Hill explaining how that should be more like a verb, more like an attitude, right? Instead of just looking at that literally. And I know you and I have talked, and I brought this up during the interview, about times where some of the religious thoughts or things that you might see appearing in the Bible kind of tie into some of the beliefs by the natives. I know we talked about that before. Are you able to get into some of that right now while I bring up the other stuff?
yeah, I can. I didn't mean to close the screen there. That kind of looked funny, like I was just gonna leave. It's there's been like, there's definitely some similarities there, but it's quite different. Like the Bible says, like to go upon the land and take from which is like the given from God, like take the animals and all these things, right? But like but in native world, it's more like respecting them, eh? Like we see like ourselves to be amongst that, and it like as a work of the universe, right? Of the great being, right? Some want to say I should say tribes over Central America, they'll say Wakantanka, but it's in our up here north, it's Matawi Mao, which is the Cree Northern way of saying that, great being, great universe, great spirit. But so I'm just saying right now is like there's a lot of there's a few things though, like like I said, there was the flood story, right? And there was that documentation, right? Like in our belief system too, like I should say, as a great creation story, part of it anyway. I should say another creation event, I should say, like like one of those cataclysmic that changed the world and perspectives and the connections between the animals there was a lot of that. But it's like the way I was always taught was that it was always a walk of light, as long as it's a walk of light, that it's connection to the universe and the great spirit, great being of the universe, right? And it was it's a lot of like the ties to it too, because like we're all connected to it, like everything's all connected to the universe, like like I said, from everything from the wind to the to the light, to the everything, to the dirt, to the plants, the animals. Look at them right here. But I'm just saying, like it's all connection, right? And we pay respects to that, because a lot of those beings, like I said, they lent themselves to us in our creation, in our story, right? So we always pay respects to those and those beings that help us in our path too, right? Like a lot of these like of the plant beings, and I should say a lot of the animal beings that help with our journey as well, right? And so that's always a thing that I'm always concerned. Like I always make sure that I pay attention to, right? Like is that honesty and that respect and that connection, and showing like and seeing the honest truth, like in because I see a lot of videos on the internet where people are just recording like just chaotic things going down between animals and stuff. But like a lot of times, like native people, like there'd be stories where, like, say there was a rabbit being chased by a hawk, and and then the rabbit asked for help, and so the hunter helped the rabbit out, and the rabbit was there to bestow upon him some knowledge and wisdom and that connection, right, between the beings, right? So it was like there's these moments in time where people are seeing these things, like I see it in reality, and people are just watching these animals as, it gets brutal, right? And but they could easily stop something, or or just kind of like even just said something, or hollered or whatever, and it would have broke up something, right? But anyway, what I'm getting at is a lot of these connections that I see out there, like even for example, I was in the woods the other day. I was walking around, just hanging out and looking around, just seeing what's all sprouting around in the woods and what's happening, and seeing all the different kind of animals that are out there, and finding all the like little remains of birds that they're, I don't know, the coyotes are getting a lot of geese and and I'm finding that out there. But like I said, I ended up finding a few other things. Like I seen, a beaver dam, and when I went to go like check it out, he came out of the water there, and then I noticed he had a couple logs that he wasn't quite, like, he couldn't quite pull down himself. It was like they were kind of caught on an angle. So I was like, well, you know what, I'm just going to help this out. I'll help this guy out. So I ended up helping him out and paying that respect to him. And he was just slapping the water, kind of clapping, just like, kind of letting me know he sees what I'm doing. Right. But it was kind of cool because he came out of the water. I got some pretty good footage of him because he felt comfortable and knew I was there. Like I wasn't hunting him or anything. Right. So they know, the animals know, and it's all connection through the universe. And it's almost like I said, it's like the universe sees you're who you are in this existence, and honestly, like it's how we are connected in this universe, and how we and our reaction, and how we go about making those choices, because that's honestly what we believe as Native people. Like, we're given this spirit, and you have to make these choices in life, and depending on those choices, right, is how you reflect in the world. So we always try to live very respectfully to everything and everyone. And like, that's why I always say, whenever I'm looking at another person, I know that I'm honestly, like, I'm looking at another spirit, like I'm seeing another being. So I'm trying to respect that as is, like, and so that's a real like an honesty there. Like I'm looking at a universal being, and it's that's that respect we try to hold with everything too. And like I said, we get a lot of the connection is to the forest and all these other beings, and even the elements like the sky and the fire and the water, and the air, and like I said, the earth itself, Mother Earth. And we hold those respects to the in the grandfather sun and grandmother moon, and all these and all in between and above, right? So it's like and beyond, because they got also our ultra terrestrials that really come into play. And they, like, what I mean by is, like, their connection's very deep, and it runs very deep within our belief system and who we are, and that's ultimately like what we hope to become in the end. We hope to evolve so we can join the sky people and join the life out there in dimensions and the higher frequency realms. And oftentimes that's what we're always trying to aim and align ourselves to in life, is we try to live the red path, the red road, to align with that natural connection in those natural world dimensions, because those portals and natural worlds, we are connected. We are protected by the higher beings there in that kind of connection. But when you get technology and people trying to use technology that doesn't have a soul, but it vibrates at a lower level, and it allows that energy to come in, and it gets taken over by negative energy and portals in different kind of AIs that don't have our intention or our best intentions at hand or in mind, and we end up having to fight them in the future. But I'm just saying is we got to be very careful when we mess around with technology and those kind of things, and because at least as human beings, we have our soul, and we have a connection to the universe and those higher dimensional realms as light beings, as as beings in this earth and this universe. Like I said, as long as your belief and your connection, your creed is connected to universal path and the higher frequencies and dimensions, you want to you pray to your like what your belief is, right? And it's connection to the universe, or the light of the universe, or God, or however Buddha, or whatever your path of light is, right? Is as long as it's connected to the higher frequencies, then you're of that kind of like I said, I should say light being, spiritual being.
And that's actually awesome, Travis. I really thank you for that. And I know actually, and it's that's what I mean by synergy, because I know you weren't able to watch really the show because you were getting off work. So you had no clue really of what the conversation was that we had in hour 1 and hour 2. But little do you know, you ended up touching on pretty much a lot of the stuff that we said. So that perspective of it is awesome. And I value that. I always tell you that, but I really want you to always know that, because we actually did talk about the higher energy, the higher vibration, and the positive energy and the negative energy, and the whole Christ consciousness concept, as Susan has stated, with it being a verb, is more of like an attitude and that translates into everything that we do. So just like you just stated exactly that. And then we made examples of how, regardless of what religious background you may have, how it applies really to everything. It's just really taking on a positive energy and kind of making that be the thing that drives you in what you put out there in the universe. So I don't, and I say that because, I also stated that when you get into religious stuff, you get to going down that path. It's like taboo sort of, in a lot of situations to go down a path like that. But I think we did it respectfully, not crossing any boundaries, but I just don't want anyone to be hung up on the fact that we're using the word Christ in that phrase. Is Christ consciousness. Doesn't, it's no shot to any religious background out there, and it's really, as you understand now, an attitude, if anything. And I think we all can display that regardless what religious background you may be from. So even if you're not from one at all, right? So just wanted to say that, and then also say that, with you, and I brought you up during the interview because like I stated a moment ago, I appreciate your perspective on those things because you get to talk from, the native side of it. And I think you're really in a special spot because you're able to have one foot into the history and the truth, as I look at it, as far as us as human beings and our history. And then you also have the other foot into society, where you can kind of be the middleman or the conduit to kind of translate and make things make sense about the questions that we ask when it comes to the native side of this. So I just want you to understand that you're in a really awesome position to be able to elaborate, translate, and deliver information. So whether you knew that or not before I said it, I just want you to know that you really play a special part in being able to translate the message, and you're definitely valued, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't mind. Coming on here and setting a few things straight, and because I know there's some people who think they know, and then it just might be a little bit of misinformation, right? And that's fine. That happens time to time, right? But I don't mind coming on here and sharing the true perspective of it, right? Like these conversations are always a big thing in my family, like growing up, and even like the priests and stuff like that, like in our area would actually come over. Like my grandmother and grandfather would invite priests over to come over for dinner, and they'd have they'd invite them over for family dinners and stuff like that. And my grandfather would talk to him about spirituality and some of these things. So a lot of these questions and things that I hear, and I've kind of already had these kind of talks before, or I've heard about, or you know what I mean, like we've kind of discussed and but like talking with a lot of the elders too nowadays, like now I'm getting prepared to do a lot of work with a lot of different people, and like I said, getting more connection within the community with that, and I'm looking forward to that, because it's a very vital importance to the future and other generations that are ahead right now, like that are coming up, and I want them to be as intrigued about it. That's also why I'm here as well, like so that they have a source to look at or something in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that there's a lot of like I said, there was a lot of people in my family. I carried these teachings over the years, and so it's very important to me too. So
no, and it's important to us, and it's just valued. So and that goes into like I said, we got really deep tonight, and that's me though. That's the kind of guy I am. I'd rather have those conversations because they do good. Like you said, it's a conversation that's here for forever. So regardless on if this resonated tonight, this may not resonate tonight. It may resonate a week from now when someone rewatches it, or a month from now, or a year, but it's here forever once again in the SOR archives, so that it can be it can still deliver its message and still be useful even later down the road. And that's if your conversation can do that, then I think you're having the right sort of conversations. And I already know, like when we're talking about energy, and I said this the first time we brought you on here, is that I was like Travis, because your energy, it resonated with me, right? And I'm a positive dude. I consider myself mostly, right? And then like energies like that, I can kind of feel them, right? And I felt that with you. I felt that with David Scott. I felt that with everybody that I met really within SOR, and even the chat community. I end up getting those vibes too, because I got to hang out with some of these guys out in Reno. So I got to be in person and kind of really feel their energy. And, I haven't felt anything bad yet, but kind of shifting, because I know we got into all this earlier, but I want to start pointing out the fact that you got this new book out, man, the Mars Bug Wars 3, right? Where
yes, the Ultimate War Machines, yes.
Where you told me, and everybody knows this from when you said it, but I'm in the book, man, and so is Dave Scott, and I think that's freaking awesome, Travis. I really appreciate you even thinking about doing that, and I'm really interested in to getting into it. And I just want to say that a person that creates art, like, you have to go through things within your life, or you have to have some sort of knowledge, or even a great imagination in order to kind of come up with things. And so I know what you bring to the table here on the show, bringing that sort of thought process into a book, I know is going to be awesome. So you can go ahead and talk about that. I'm going to bring it up on the screen as well.
Oh yeah. So the Mars Bug Wars, Ultimate War Machines. Yes, it follows the events after the Mars Bug Wars, the Forgotten Ones, which is the second book. So this is the third and final book of the series. This one, even if you just buy this one, you're going to get a great story and a great insight into the kind of world and the satire that it is. It is kind of an I should say a managed democratic kind of Earth that kind of seems to have kind of taken over, and you'll read about how it got taken over like that, and how it became that way, and yeah, it's kind of like there's a lot of predictions there in the future, and for the future in there, and yeah, it talks a lot about it questions everything. It gets into the deep mystery of the Mars, and yeah, you're gonna love it. Like I said, it's there's a lot of predictions there, and yeah, it also explains a lot. Like I said, it explains a lot. It's the final one. It wraps it up very nicely, and yeah, I was very happy to write it. And like I said, I got Filthy in there, I got Rob in there, I got Dave in there, and I got a lot of folks in there as well. I'm so happy that I was able to include everybody. Like I said, it's a 250-page book. A lot of art in there. There's tons of art throughout the pages, and I filled this one up. I made sure it was really good. Yeah, like I said, I had a great time with it, and I hope you all enjoy it. And thank you so much to the people that are already buying it and checking it out. And like I said, I have to go drop off the first book tonight to one of my family. They bought it, so after this radio show, I was actually gonna go drive and drop it off for them. And but yeah, like I said, this is the third and final one. Yeah, it's great. So I hope you all get it and enjoy it. And yes, I believe it's like $15 or something like that in US, 35 in Canada, I believe, or something like that. But check it out, get it, and let me know what you guys think. Leave a nice review.
Please do.
If you want to support me,
please do. And then tell me, you guys, let me know what you think about the character arc for my character. So am I going to live? Well, this is the last one, so I guess it wouldn't be. But I don't even want to know. I'll find out when I read it. I don't even want to spoil it. Maybe I live. Maybe I save the world. Maybe I die saving the world. I don't really know, but I am interested in looking into it. And like I said, I like to highlight creatives because I'm one myself, musician. I'm artist in many ways, and I can appreciate it when I see other people manifesting art, because that's really what you're doing. You're taking thoughts and things of that nature, and you are you're pulling, well, wherever you're drawing these things from, whether they're downloads that some people would say, or wherever you're grabbing these from, you're able to kind of manifest that through your fingers and create something physical that everyone is able to take a part in, which I think is really awesome. So keep doing this stuff, Travis. And, anytime you got something like this, we're going to promote it because you're just a great dude, man. And I think your inner, the type of person I'm feeling that you are, I think more people need to be able to experience that, man. So keep up the awesome work, buddy.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, I'm already in the talks of a next project here, a couple projects coming up. So I'm just like, right now is just kind of like my little, I guess I should say a little like time off before I start picking up the keyboard again and getting down into really hammering out another story or anything like that along those lines. But yeah, it's been. It's a process. It's definitely a process creatively. Like I said, I've released the Mars Bug Wars. I released in January. I didn't release a book in February, but March and April. And I was able to release. January I released Palladian Guidance, and then March and April I released the Mars Bug Wars and Mars Bug Wars: The Forgotten Ones. And then this month I was able to release the final one, the Mars Bug Wars. The Ultimate War Machine. Well, Ultimate War Machines. That's the goal for it. It's incredible. It's a deep dive into like I said, the predictions of the future, and I hope y'all enjoy that and check it out.
And so I just actually the question on the screen from CS is saying he's tried to buy a book, but it didn't come up on Amazon. So I tried to put a link in there to the page, but it's way too long for one message. So how would be the easy? So let me do it.
Just go type in the Mars Bug Wars. Just type in the Mars Bug Wars. Yeah, just
is it also in the U.S. store?
Yeah.
I see where,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It's all over. Even the UK, and I made sure it was being sold all over. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it looks like all you have to do is make sure your search is set for Kindle, and then type in the Mars Bug Wars, and you get it to come right on up, and it's all the versions of the book. Okay, so they see it on Amazon now.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
And also too, if you're like in some sort of like, if you're like a far like offshore island or something, like just in the US, just give Amazon a call, like contact them, and they'll literally put your call order aside, like give them your number, and they'll call you back and like within 30 minutes and sort it out. Like I've had people order my book out to a few of the lower coast islands there and just under America, and they were able to get the book overseas. So, you know what I mean? Like, just got to call Amazon and work out that shipping details and whatnot. But other than that, like I said, it's available out there, folks, to enjoy. And like I said, I feel like it's going to be one of those books that'll be, will stand the test of time.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you kind of put your work out there. And and here's my thing. I'll say this about work, because I'll put out an album now. I'll just put one out now. And I think the important thing is getting the work out there, and then it'll be discovered at some point, right? So maybe it's not today, maybe it's somewhere down the line, but as long you have to create the work and have the work out there to be able to be viewed, and then that's all you can really do, and then just allow people to kind of organically come to it or promote it through shows like we're doing now. I'm gonna try to read this book by the time we talk next week, so I can kind of give you some details about it, and because I would love to talk to you about it next week. And okay, CS is saying Amazon keeps asking me if I've moved and says it's unavailable. Oh, maybe where are you at, CS? We're at in the US. Or are you in the US? Let me start there. So in Van Gold, yeah, it'll stand the test of time. Awesome. That's a fact. Yeah, the whole link is not necessary. Okay. Colorado. Well, CS, you saw it. That's why I did it right on the screen. I just went right in the search box and typed it in. Are you using a VPN, or that could be something potentially? Yeah. Let me see if I can get a shorter link. Let me see here. That might be a thing. I know I am looking in the Canada store, but it shouldn't matter. Let me see here. Okay. All right. US Amazon. This is US Amazon. Let me share this one here. All right. US Amazon. And let me go ahead and type this in. The Mars Bug Wars. Oh, okay. So it didn't come up there. It's under all, but let me change this little box to Kindle. Kindle store. And then search again. Boom, right here. So let me try to, okay, this one might work. Let me do this. Okay, let's send this one to the chats. All right, here we go, CS. Try this link and let me know what you get. Oh, okay. So Mothman has it. So let me know. Let me know if you click that link, CS, if either one of these work for you. So Mothman's or mine's.
Oh, that's awesome. By next time we talk next week, I'll definitely have like a paperback to show in physical copies, flip through some of the images in there, and yeah, you'll get to, yeah, hopefully, like I said, you'll get to bring up some of the book and conversation, yeah, and get to answer some of the deeper questions about it.
Yeah, I'll be able to kind of see exactly what's going on and see what kind of attitude you gave my guy. So with that being said, how many books have you written at this point? Because you've been putting them out like every week, every month.
You know, like I've written quite a bit. Where's that? Give me a second here. I have it somewhere stored around here. Yeah. See, this is just, some of the books that I've written that I never released and stuff.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but so sometimes so the Mars Bug Wars is actually in there, and I just took that old book and I just rewrote it, refitted it, made it more intense, more awesome, and just like I said, an all-out adventure. And then when I because that was what I wanted to make when I first made the first book, right? I just wanted to make a really good story, and then I started seeing what it was really showing me, and it like I said, I went break for that whole what it was, and it revealed, like I said, it has all these predictions in it, and it turned into an incredible story that I ended up making out of it, right? So, but to be honest though, I have about I think 17 somewhere out there, and then but published works on Amazon that I took serious, like about 7 or 8 now that I've released for sale. Wow. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a few.
Van Gogh, lovely love. I want to know, do you sleep with all this work?
I just drift in between consciousnesses, I guess. You gotta know. I just kind of
I can tell you what it is. It's a creative drive. It's a drive. It's something that drives you to do it. So it's not even effort. It's effortless, but you can never determine when your creative juices are going to flow. And then when they do, you have to take advantage of that. And that's kind of how that works. But with that being said, I had a few questions here that were posed. I think some of them were for me here. And let's see, when was this? Okay, this was just sent actually. So Blue Pac-Man 13 asked, speaking of New Earth, what's your thoughts on the Mandela effect? And I guess you could answer this too, Travis, but I know as far as, well, actually, go ahead. You answer it first and then I'll finish.
Oh yeah, definitely like I said, it's like a wave of like it's like the whole like reality subtly changes a little bit just by like in the frequency and makes subtle changes into our reality. Yeah, like there's been a few that have gotten me there over time, like especially with like Star Wars, and there was a few other ones like that were just like kind of like I was like, I swear that was that happened here or that happened there, and then people are like, no, he's still alive, that person's still alive. I was like, no, I swear he was, that guy that guy died or whatever like 8 years ago or whatever, right? Like there's been a couple ones that just blew me away, right? Like but there's like I said, but the ones that I've seen though have been like kind of like I see it and I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely messing with technology and like I said, people might be doing time, like going back in time and just little, even just, if somebody even goes through time or back in time, it changes it no matter what, or even like even messing around with like I feel like doing the certain particle reactors is like a big thing that can make these little glitches happen, and I think that's part of that in that sense, is like when we tend to interfere with that fabric of reality, and like I said, it leaves these little traces behind. I guess we see it, and like for me, it's very interesting. Like where it's going to happen or where it's going. Like I like to think of it as like the changes that were made. Like we're happy that it's that. You know what I mean? Like we're like like I'm happy that it was just like the subtle changes that I've noticed and not anything too drastic. And it's like.
Let me trip you out real quick, because here's and everything you said about it definitely is correct. It's supposed to be like the slight alteration of things that you remember from your past, indicating potentially that maybe you have slipped into another reality where this did not happen. Now, here's thinking about that. I thought about this. So not just looking at the Mandela effect going backwards, but what about the Mandela effect looking forwards? So think about this. And I thought about this, right? So you know how you go through life and you have close encounters with so maybe you walk a tightrope over a canyon and you make it to the other side. Maybe in your reality you didn't make it to the other side, but maybe you, and this is just spitballing, but maybe in that moment you kind of jump over to an alternate reality where it didn't happen. So maybe you have that and you look back on it like, oh man, I was so lucky to get through that incident, or so lucky that it turned out this way. What if it didn't turn out that way, but in the moment, instantaneously, in the moment that you experienced that, you moved into a reality where it did happen? And then, because that would, when you're looking at things like luck, bad luck and good luck, it kind of makes sense that maybe if there are these dimensions that you're able to go back and forth between, that's assuming that that's true, then maybe, when you're running into these things that could alter your life going forward, maybe and I don't know how this would happen essentially, but maybe you switch lanes and move into the dimension where you made it through that incident. But in that previous dimension, people are like, oh, you passed away, or you didn't make it. You know what I mean? And that, do you understand what I'm saying when I say that, Travis?
Yes, in the native culture, we always believe that there is our future selves, like that are ahead, that our light bodies are ahead of us, and then also our spirit, what we leave behind, it's always like a ripple effect, and like how we connect and how we go through our lives, and it was like the way I was always taught was, people, you when you go through life and you make good choices and you follow the right road, you don't deviate from that. You're making these right choices because the guardians are there watching over you, they're helping you, and you're also following that path unintentionally, like the universal path, the path that the universe has set in place, right? But sometimes people, like, they'll make the wrong decisions and let bad things in, and things will deviate them off the path, or they'll make wrong choices, and bad things start to happen in the worst case scenarios, but I always like to think, like, whenever we're praying, we're also praying to, like, we're praying for our future, and praying for our past as well, and just kind of, like I said, it's always the honoring of all those connections, and it's like I always try to pray for my, like, the other versions of my reality. Like, I always try to, like, say prayers for them as well. Like, I always give an honest, like I try to say, protect, like, I hope that Travis back then, like in the past, that was having a hard time doing this, like, gets help, or what I mean, like, you say prayers, and like, to, for your past struggles, and then also too, like, to keep you on the good path for the future, and then also too for everyone else out there in the world, like, in the universe, and even like I'll still say prayers for my uncles that were in the war in World War II, because like, who was looking out for them in those times, right?
Exactly.
It's all connections, it's ripples, and it's all connections through spirit, and in that world, it's all timeless, because all the times in reality all exist. I try to mention this, like, but so it literally is like that. Like, you can see the version of reality where this shirt is red, and or where I'm not wearing the hat, or what I mean, and or not wearing the glasses, and where it's I'm on this side with the mic, like, so, but you can look at all those separate versions, and you can enter any one of them, or take place in any time back in any moment, right? In the past or in the future, it can go, it's like there's no end and there's no beginning. It all exists, and that's just how it is on that world, spirit world. And when the aliens and higher dimensionals, ultra terrestrials, and that higher frequency, they see that, and they can just go into this part of the time. They can go into this time. It's timeless out there. They said, like, they don't ever. They always come back. They're always looking at, like, they never aged or anything. And but like I said, it's for them. It's that they exist on such a higher frequency that out here it's the time, it goes straight like a car. People like to think of time like you go to one end to the other, right? But out there, it just exists. There's no forward or back. It's all there, all the realities, and they could just go to any one of them at any time, and that's where a lot of the guardians are there. They're watching over all those other realities where it's not going so great, and they're there. They're intervening. They're protecting those people and helping, trying to steer them back on the paths of light, and it's a balance there in that world, right? And for everyone, and all of us, and all of our spirits and beings, and the universe's connection.
Let's say it makes total sense. I mean, especially when you look at something that people consider luck or string of good luck, or you look at someone and they always seem to win, just win after win after win after win. And maybe maybe they have the ability to unsubconsciously manifest themselves into these other dimensions where they won in this one, they were going to lose, but they moved to this other dimension, they win again, and to you it looks like a string of wins. And that, because people always are like, well, what is luck? Is luck a real thing? And you could look at it as that maybe it's just the ability to shift to avoid this dimension due to the outcome, and then being able to shift into another reality to secure that next win. And it's just a thought. Obviously, we would never know the answer to it, but I just want to say that. And a couple other things, Christine Lynn made a comment saying it could be a dimension of what could have happened. And that's exactly what I'm saying, Christine. So you get exactly what I'm saying. Also, Isaac Ariola saying, hi, everyone, Spaced Out Radio, love your show. Thanks for coming in, Isaac. I haven't seen you here. If you're new, definitely want to welcome you, and please consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bells. We go live here 7 days a week. Always something going on here at Spaced Out Radio. So wanted to let you know that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there was just one more thing I wanted to add in about all that. Was like another thing too about I was always taught about deja vus and things like that. It was like we were always told that that was your spirit going ahead on your path and making sure that everything's all right, and that you're aligned to be in that moment of time, and to learn in that experience, or to I should say elevate your experience or evolve, and so like, you know, there's, you know, like, so I mean, like your future self is always like, you know, your like your spirit body is always like looking at the head and the future, where your paths are leading, and by the choices and how you ripple out and all the things that you do, right? And it all vibrations, it's all frequency, and through the sound, everything that we speak and say, we think, it all becomes something, right?
Definitely. Great point. And I also want to tag this other message here. And thanks for coming in, Kira. Welcome to the show tonight. Van Gold had brought up or said this comment I wanted to kind of pull out. She says she tried to tell a non-believer about mantis species of aliens, and he just laughed it all off because he has to see it to even consider it. So I wanted to bring that comment up because I've thought about that, right? And I know, you know, so if you just look at someone from that's on the outside of this conversation, that's never had this conversation before, maybe they're just beginning to be interested in it, and so they decide to come in tonight. Say they come in to watch this show. They're like, let me see what this is all about. And if the first thing they get hit across their face with is mantid species, it's too much for them to commit to, right? Because I think when we handle people from the outside who are just coming into this, that you kind of have to wean them. You have to bring them in slowly. You have to let them know, hey, there's these craft in the sky. Let's get them to realize that. Okay. Now, once they've done that, well, not only are there craft in the sky, but there's been an incident at a school called Aerial School where all these people saw one of these crafts land on the ground. And not only did it do that, but something walked out of it. So, and then if they can wrap their mind around that, then I think you can pull another layer of the onion off of them. But I think for a lot of people that come in, and the first thing that they get hit with is even though it may be true, is something about a manid species and why they're here, or, you know, that for them may be too deep to start off at, right? That's just like going to school and starting math at calculus or them trying to teach you calculus as your first math subject. You kind of got to do the addition first, then the addition, subtraction, then multiplication, then division, then pre-algebra, then algebra, right? And then kind of go up the steps. And I think the same thing has to happen with conversations from people who are skeptics or just don't understand, you know, how to have this conversation. So I think another thing that I wanted to add to that, Van Gold, is that I think maybe, you know, when we have these conversations, we will, and you talk about a mantid species, right? You may be using jargon that, like I said with Susan earlier, that works within ufology, but doesn't really translate to someone that hasn't dealt with this before. So my challenge to you would be, and maybe you're already doing this, is if you do have these conversations, trying to think of a way to frame the conversation in a way that is understandable to someone who's never dealt with this subject before. Because I think what we're doing here is we're trying to not only speak to ourselves, people who already know that this is going on, but the goal is to reach those people out there that are just coming in or haven't come around to this yet, right? And when we think about the conversations or how we open a conversation with those people, we have to think about it in a way like, hey, they don't understand mantid, they don't understand this, and figure out the best way to kind of bring them in, because you're going to have many more conversations with people who just don't understand all these phrases and the jargon that we use within this field. So I wanted to point that out. With that being said, Travis, you got anything you want to add here before we get up out of here tonight?
Yeah, no, just thank you everyone for your support in my creative endeavors, especially with Mars Bug Wars. Like, I really do appreciate it. And like I said, it's one of those wonderful tales. Like I said, will stand the test of time. And thanks, Rob, for having me on tonight. And appreciate everyone out there, all the listeners here now and in the future listening in. Thank you.
Definitely. Travis, thanks so much for coming in, man. Just like I told you before, you're valued, man. So I'll be looking forward to talking to you next week. And I'm going to try to make sure that I've read at least a good portion of the book by next weekend, and we will talk about it. All right.
Oh yeah, you will. I that's, it's guaranteed, man. It's an action-packed book. You're like, you're right in the first chapter all the way through it. So I hope you enjoy it, buddy.
Exactly. All right. Well, with that being said, you have a good rest of your night, man. Take care. And we will go ahead and get ready to wrap this thing up, man. Another great show, another great conversation, right? It's just what it is. I mean, you have to be able to have these conversations in order to move the needle forward. The reason why I made the statement that I just made is because if we don't approach this properly when we're trying to bring people in from the outside, then they simply look at you as being crazy. That's kind of where the whole stigma ends up coming from. And if you ever talk to someone that's outside of this circle and you bring up something like something that's something really deep, further down the line, then they look at that as just unbelievable, and what you're saying sounds crazy, and it's just a disservice to trying to get us where we need to go. The whole thing is to communicate in a fashion that works for everyone, and that's kind of what we have to do, because this involves all of us, right? So with that being said, I do appreciate everybody who's come out tonight. It has been an awesome show. Again, tomorrow we will have Costa Macris. So again, more of this enlightenment conversation will continue. Hope you guys come back to enjoy that tomorrow. But also remember, 7 p.m. Pacific, Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones will be having her show. So make sure to show up there. And then once that show is over, roll right on over here to the after hours so we can go ahead and get this thing going again. What I would like to say as well, right? We're all space travelers. Consider taking the next step. Join the club. You can join the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 buckaroonies per month by joining our Patreon. We'd appreciate it if you support. Aside from that, everyone tuning in from all across the globe, thanks for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what is that, you ask? Guys, we own the night. We will see you right back here tomorrow.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Never say never